My fiancé said his parents wouldn't attend our wedding because they were ill. I delivered soup to their house. They were perfectly healthy and planning his wedding to someone else the following month. I became their wedding planner and waited. The chicken soup was still warm in my hands when my world collapsed. I stared at Tyler's text message for the 5th time. Mom and Dad can't make it to the tasting. Both down with nasty flu. Rain check. It was the 3rd cancellation this month. Something felt off. Tyler and I had been engaged for 8 months, and his parents had become increasingly elusive whenever wedding plans were mentioned. I scrolled back through our messages, noticing a pattern I'd been too trusting to see. Each time we scheduled anything wedding-related, his parents mysteriously fell ill. Before I reveal how this betrayed fiancé transformed her heartbreak into the ultimate con artist takedown, hit that subscribe button. Each week we share stories of extraordinary revenge served with professional precision. You won't want to miss what happens when a wedding planner decides to plan something other than happily ever after. I'd woken up early that Sunday to make my grandmother's chicken soup recipe, the one that had nursed me through countless childhood illnesses. The kitchen still smelled of roasted chicken, thyme, and love when Tyler left for his emergency client meeting. I'd chopped vegetables for 2 hours, skimming the broth to perfect clarity. If my future in-laws were truly sick, this would help. If they weren't, Tyler had left his phone charging when he rushed out. I'd never checked it before. Trust was our foundation, or so I thought. The notification appeared as I unplugged it to bring to him. A text from his mother, not to Tyler, but to someone saved as Jess, that had been accidentally included in their group chat. All set for venue walkthrough today at 1. Don't bring Tyler. Better to discuss final details without him. Remember, his girlfriend still thinks we're sick. My hands trembled as I placed the phone down. Girlfriend. Not fiancé. I was the girlfriend in their conversations. 8 months of engagement erased with a single word. I knew the address well. A colonial-style home in Oakwood Heights with a perfectly manicured lawn that Tyler's mother complained required constant attention. I'd only been invited there twice in our 2-year relationship. Family privacy, Tyler had explained. The soup still steaming, I drove the 20 minutes to their neighborhood, rehearsing innocent explanations in my head. Perhaps Jess was their wedding planner? Maybe there was a surprise being planned for me? The desperate thoughts of someone who didn't want their life to unravel. Their silver Lexus sat in the driveway alongside a white Range Rover I didn't recognize. I approached the side of the house where kitchen voices filtered through an open window. No coughing. No signs of illness. Just laughter and the clinking of glasses. The Westfield Country Club is perfect, a woman's voice declared. The gazebo overlooks the entire valley. Sunset ceremony just as you wanted. I recognized Mrs. Williams' laugh. Jessica, you've outdone yourself finding this venue. I'm so glad Tyler finally came to his senses. Jessica. Not just the wedding planner. Jessica Morgan. My colleague at Premier Events, where I'd worked as a senior coordinator for 5 years. The woman who'd asked me detailed questions about my wedding vision just last week over lunch. Research for a client, she'd claimed. I crouched beneath the window, soup growing cold against my chest, and peered through the gap in the blinds. The scene was something from a nightmare. Jessica sitting at the kitchen island I'd heard so much about but rarely seen, flipping through wedding magazines. Tyler's parents, rosy-cheeked and vibrant, nothing like the bedridden invalids they were supposed to be, hovering over venue photographs. Thank goodness we only put down refundable deposits for Tyler's other wedding, his father said, refilling champagne glasses. That wedding planner girlfriend was useful for ideas at least. Jessica, you've improved on every one of them. They laughed, all 3 of them, as my heart splintered in my chest. I pressed my back against the siding, afraid my ragged breathing would give me away. The Preston fortune will finally have a suitable match, Mrs. Williams continued. Much better than linking our family name to a glorified party planner. Jessica preened at the compliment. The wedding's only 4 weeks away. Are you sure she won't cause problems once Tyler breaks it off? He'll end things next weekend, Mr. Williams assured her. Said something about her being too busy with work to suspect anything. The boys learned a thing or two from his old man about managing women. More laughter. More champagne. I stood frozen, piecing together the fragments of truth through my shock. Tyler wasn't breaking anything off next weekend. We'd made love this morning before he left. He'd kissed my forehead and reminded me about our dinner plans tonight. We'd been discussing children's names 2 days ago. I shifted position trying to hear more, when my gaze fixed on the refrigerator calendar visible through the kitchen doorway. Circled in red, exactly 1 month from today, Tyler and Jessica's wedding, 4 p.m. Beside it, a smaller notation, honeymoon departure, 7 p.m. flight to Bora Bora. The Bora Bora trip Tyler had been researching on my laptop. The dream destination I'd mentioned wanting to visit since college. A branch snapped under my foot and the conversation inside abruptly stopped. "Did you hear something?" Mrs. Williams asked. I didn't wait to be discovered. Clutching the soup container, I hurried back to my car, slipping once on the dewy grass but catching myself before I fell. The soup sloshed inside its container, still warm against my stomach, unlike the cold reality seeping into my bones. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of the Williams' front door opening in my rearview mirror. I turned the corner before they could see me. Back in my apartment, our apartment, I placed the soup in the refrigerator, moving mechanically like someone sleepwalking. Tyler's clothes hung beside mine in the closet. His toothbrush stood next to mine in the bathroom. His ring sat on my finger, catching the afternoon light and throwing it against the wall in fractured rainbows. When my phone chimed with a text from Tyler, "Meeting running late. Don't wait up," something inside me hardened. The tears stopped. The shaking subsided. I opened my laptop and created a new document. At the top I typed, "The Williams-Preston wedding." Below it in smaller font, "Planned by the glorified party planner." By the time Tyler came home at midnight, smelling of unfamiliar perfume, I was already formulating a plan that would make their wedding day unforgettable. Just not in the way they expected. Sleep evaded me for 3 consecutive nights. While Tyler snored beside me, I slipped from our bed to the soft glow of my laptop, diving into the Williams family history. Each revelation peeled back another layer of deception. Tyler's father hadn't built his investment firm from nothing as they'd proudly claimed. Court records showed 3 previous companies dissolved after investor complaints. Nothing that stuck legally, but the pattern was clear. They'd change names, rebrand, and find new victims. I found forum posts from former clients describing identical tactics. Charm, promises, then vanishing funds. What truly chilled me was discovering Tyler's previous engagement to Melissa Harrington 4 years ago, daughter of a Boston real estate magnate. Their engagement announcement appeared in local papers, then mysteriously disappeared 6 months later. I found her on social media, now living in Seattle, her profile filled with posts about recovering from toxic relationships. "You're up early," Tyler murmured on the 4th morning, finding me at the kitchen table with coffee. His hand brushed my shoulder with practiced tenderness. "Wedding jitters?" "Just finalizing some venue details," I replied, closing the browser tab about his father's second bankruptcy. "Actually, I was thinking about Westfield Country Club for our reception. The gazebo at sunset would be perfect." His hand froze on my shoulder. "Westfield? That's not really what we discussed." "I know, but it just came highly recommended." I met his eyes, searching for any flicker of guilt. "One of my clients mentioned it yesterday." "Let's stick with the original plan," he said smoothly, recovering quickly. "Westfield is overpriced anyway." I nodded, watching him pour coffee, noting how skillfully he'd avoided the trap. His lies flowed as naturally as breath. Had anything between us ever been real? At work, I maintained a facade of bridal excitement, discussing flower arrangements with colleagues who had no idea my engagement was crumbling beneath me. Jessica called in sick 3 days straight. Venue shopping with my fiancé, no doubt. During lunch breaks, I compiled my professional portfolio, highlighting celebrity weddings I'd coordinated, press mentions, and client testimonials. I included photos of events Jessica had merely assisted with, knowing she'd claimed them as her own work to the Williams family. "Taking on a side client?" my boss asked, noticing the portfolio on my desk. "Something like that," I replied. "A very exclusive wedding." That evening I called my college roommate Sarah, now a private investigator in Chicago. "You're sure you want this information?" she asked after I explained the situation. "Sometimes ignorance really is bliss, Megan." "I've moved beyond bliss," I answered. "I need facts." The file arrived in my email the next morning. Tyler's credit report showed joint applications with Jessica for a mortgage on a lakefront property. His parents' financial statements revealed 3 liens against their home and a pattern of transferring assets between shell companies before major investment deals collapsed. Most damning was Sarah's discovery that Mrs. Williams had previously worked at Preston Pharmaceuticals, Jessica's family company, before being dismissed for ethical concerns. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a calculated business merger with a vengeance component. When Tyler left for his gym session that Friday, I sat at our dining table rehearsing my script. The call needed to sound natural, as if industry gossip had reached me. My hands trembled as I dialed Mrs. Williams' number from Tyler's phone log. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello, Mrs. Williams. This is Megan Lawrence." I kept my voice bright, professional. "I hope you're feeling better after that terrible flu." Silence stretched across the line. "Megan, hers friend. Fiancé," I corrected gently, though I understand there may be some confusion about that. Her breath caught audibly. "What exactly are you calling about?" "I heard through industry connections that you're planning a wedding at Westfield Country Club. As you know, I'm a senior coordinator at Premier Events. We typically charge $15,000 for complete packages, but given our almost family connection, I could offer my services at a significant discount." Another pause. "You want to plan Tyler's wedding?" "I want to plan your event," I clarified. Premier Events has exclusive relationships with the best vendors in the city. No one could deliver the caliber of service I can, especially at the discounted rate I'm offering. I should discuss this with my husband. And Tyler. Of course. Though I should mention that Jessica Morgan is actually my assistant at Premier. She's only been with us 8 months and doesn't have authorization to book our premium vendors. I'd hate for there to be any confusion about who's actually qualified to execute an event of this significance. The threat lingered unspoken between us. If they rejected me, I could easily expose Jessica's professional misrepresentations. "Perhaps we should meet," Mrs. Williams finally said. "Monday afternoon?" "Perfect. I'll bring my portfolio." After hanging up, I stood in the stillness of my apartment, my reflection fractured in the mirror across the room. A woman I barely recognized staring back with cold determination in her eyes. I returned to my laptop and created 2 new folders. The first I labeled Williams Preston Wedding, containing subfolder categories for venues, catering, flowers, and music. The second, password protected, I named Williams Family Evidence, with different organization, financial fraud, personal history, legal vulnerabilities, and Jessica's fabricated resume. When Tyler returned and wrapped his arms around me from behind, I didn't flinch. I leaned into his embrace, a smile playing at my lips as I closed the laptop. "You seem different," he said, studying my face. "Do I?" I turned to kiss him lightly. "I just made an exciting new professional connection today. A wedding that might change everything." "That's my girl," he said proudly, completely missing the darkness in my eyes. "Always the ambitious one." Monday afternoon arrived with a sky the color of bruises. I parked my car a block from the Williams home, checking my appearance one last time. The woman in the rearview mirror wore a sleek black blazer, professional makeup, and eyes like polished stone. The portfolio in my hands contained every detail of my career. Awards, testimonials, and magazine features. What it didn't show was the recording device tucked into my bra, already capturing audio. Mrs. Williams opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Williams stood behind her, his handshake firm as he ushered me into their immaculate living room. "Tyler won't be joining us," Mrs. Williams explained, settling onto their pristine white sofa. "He's handling some business matters downtown. With Jessica, I assume?" I kept my voice professionally neutral. Mr. Williams cleared his throat. "So you know about that situation?" "Industry circles are small." I opened my portfolio, displaying photos of celebrity weddings I'd orchestrated. "I understand discretion is important here." The tension was palpable as they exchanged glances. Mrs. Williams fidgeted with her diamond tennis bracelet. The one Tyler had told me was a family heirloom, though property records showed it was purchased 3 months ago, likely with investor funds. "Our concern," Mr. Williams began carefully, "is that this arrangement might be uncomfortable given your history with our son." I smiled, tilting my head slightly. You mean my current engagement to Tyler? The one he hasn't ended yet. Their discomfort was delicious. Mrs. Williams reached for her water glass. What exactly are you hoping to gain here, Megan? Mr. Williams asked, his investor instincts surfacing. 15% of the wedding budget, same as any other client. Though I'd waive my personal fee for family. I paused, letting them hear the implied threat in family. And of course, the professional satisfaction of creating a flawless event. I slid across a preliminary contract, watching them scan the document with narrowed eyes. You'll notice I've included a confidentiality clause. What happens in the planning process stays between us. What I didn't mention was the clause buried on page 4 that granted me complete creative control and access to all vendors. This seems thorough, Mrs. Williams murmured, signing where I'd indicated. Her husband followed suit, relief evident in his shoulders. Wonderful, I said, standing smoothly. I'll schedule a meeting with Jessica tomorrow to begin the process. I assume she's still unaware of my personal connection. Their startled expressions confirmed my suspicion. Jessica had no idea I was engaged to her fiancé. The following day I met Jessica at Ellington Cafe, where the baristas knew me by name. She arrived 20 minutes late, designer sunglasses perched on her head, confused recognition dawning as she spotted me. Megan, what are you doing here? She glanced around nervously. I'm meeting my wedding planner. That would be me. I slid a business card across the table. The Williams family specifically requested my services yesterday. Her perfectly contoured face registered shock, then suspicion. But you're planning your own wedding. Won't this be too much work? I manage multiple high-profile events simultaneously, I replied smoothly. Tell me about your fiancé. I need to understand his taste to create a cohesive vision. Jessica launched into a detailed description of Tyler, successful entrepreneur, investment genius, world traveler. A man who bore only passing resemblance to the Tyler I knew. In her version, he owned property in Aspen, false, had closed million-dollar deals, exaggerated, and came from old money, laughable. And how did you meet? I asked, recording every fabrication. At a charity gala last year, she said proudly. He said I was the only woman in the room who caught his eye. I nodded, remembering exactly where Tyler actually was that weekend. In bed with me at a B&B in Vermont celebrating our anniversary. Have you met his previous girlfriends? I asked casually. It helps to know his relationship patterns. Jessica waved dismissively. Just some event coordinator he dated briefly. Nothing serious. I see, I murmured, suggesting a florist whose minimum packages started at $20,000. For your vision, only Elena Botkin will do. I'll arrange a meeting. She normally has a 2-year waitlist, but she owes me a favor. Over the next week, I steered Jessica toward the most expensive vendors in the city, each one offering me substantial referral fees that I documented meticulously. Every selection became part of both my wedding plan and my evidence file. The betrayal cut deeper when I discovered the honeymoon charges on my own credit card statement. $15,000 for Bora Bora bungalows, booked under Mr. and Mrs. Tyler Williams. The same day, my bank notified me of a mortgage pre-approval inquiry Tyler had initiated without my knowledge, using our joint financial information. Just planning for our future, he explained when I casually mentioned the notification at dinner. His smile never faltered as he poured more wine, completely unaware that I'd already learned he and Jessica had toured homes together the previous weekend. My unexpected breakthrough came during a cake tasting at the Williams home. As Jessica and her future in-laws debated between vanilla bean and champagne flavors, a teenager slouched into the kitchen. Aunt Karen, Mom's looking for the boy stopped, eyes widening as he recognized me. Aren't you Tyler's fiancé? The room froze. Mrs. Williams recovered first, her laugh brittle. Adam, this is Megan, our wedding planner. But I met you at Thanksgiving, Adam insisted, confusion evident. Tyler introduced you as his fiancé. Jessica's face drained of color. What's he talking about? Adam, go help your mother, Mr. Williams ordered sharply. Later, as I packed sample books into my car, Adam approached, hands in his pockets. They're doing it again, aren't they? He asked quietly. Doing what? I stilled, attention fully on this unexpected ally. The marriage con. His eyes were older than his 16 years. Find someone rich, marry in, divorce out with a settlement. Tyler did it with that Boston girl before you. Uncle Robert's done it 3 times. I leaned against my car. Tell me everything. And he did, detailing family gatherings where they'd celebrated successful mergers and planned new targets, the offshore accounts where settlement money disappeared, the calculated way they identified and isolated wealthy marks. Why are you telling me this? Adam shrugged. You're the first one who figured it out before getting hurt. Besides, he added with a teenager's brutal honesty, I recorded Tyler and Dad talking last week about how they're going to clean out Jessica's trust fund after the wedding. Seemed like you should know. I drove home with Adam's flash drive in my purse, the final piece of evidence I needed, thinking of Jessica's face when she'd asked about that event coordinator. She was as much a victim as I had been, just one who hadn't discovered the truth yet. That night I updated both my folders. One with exquisite wedding plans that would impress every guest, and another with damning evidence that would destroy the family executing the event. With Adam's flash drive secured in my desk's hidden compartment, I entered the final phase of my plan. 2 weeks remained until the Williams-Preston wedding. Though in reality, it would be the Williams family's last con. The harbor view for the rehearsal dinner? Jessica frowned at my suggestion. It's so understated. Trust me, I assured her. Marco's private dining room has hosted 3 presidents. The exclusivity is precisely why it doesn't advertise. What I didn't mention was that Marco had been my first client when I started at Premier Events. His daughter's wedding had launched my career after a society magazine featured my designs. He owed me, and more importantly, he'd agreed to my unusual requests without questions when I explained the situation. We'll need to expand the guest list, I told Jessica and Mrs. Williams during our final planning session. The rehearsal dinner should include all significant business connections. It creates a powerful impression of family unity before the ceremony. Mrs. Williams nodded approvingly. Robert's investors would appreciate the gesture. And Jessica, you'll want your father's partners there, I added. Especially since he's covering the expenses. My suggestion was met with enthusiastic agreement. Perfect. Every potential victim and witness gathered in one room. The video montage was my masterpiece. Under the guise of creating a touching tribute, I'd collected family photos and videos from Jessica, Mrs. Williams, and even Tyler, who remained oblivious to my dual role. Could you gather some testimonials from your father's business associates? I asked Jessica innocently. Something about your family legacy? It adds gravitas to the presentation. In my home office, I edited through nights, carefully splicing together seemingly innocent clips that told a different story when viewed by informed eyes. A quote about Tyler's business acumen, followed by footage of him discussing aggressive investment strategies with Mr. Williams. Melissa Harrington's engagement announcement juxtaposed with Jessica showcasing the identical ring. Mr. Williams toasting family traditions, interspersed with courthouse records discreetly visible in background shots. For the untrained eye, it was a touching family tribute. For someone looking for inconsistencies, like Jessica's father or his team of financial advisors, it was a roadmap of red flags. You seem distracted, Tyler commented one evening, finding me at my laptop. He massaged my shoulders and I forced myself not to recoil. Wedding planning going okay? Just wrapping up a special project, I replied. Actually, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. His hands stilled. What's that? I received a wedding invitation yesterday. From Jessica Morgan at work. Isn't that strange? It's the same weekend we were thinking of for our autumn ceremony. Tyler's face performed an impressive dance of emotions. Shock, calculation, and finally an attempt at confusion. Jessica from your office? I've only met her once or twice at company parties. I nodded thoughtfully. Must be a coincidence. Though her fiancé is also named Tyler. Williams, I think. Common name, he muttered, already reaching for his phone. I should make a call. Client emergency. As he hurried into the bedroom, I opened my email and sent the carefully crafted message I'd prepared days earlier. The recipient, Charles Preston, pharmaceutical magnate and Jessica's overprotective father. Mr. Preston, as a financial security consultant who has worked with several families in your social circle, I feel professionally obligated to bring certain inconsistencies to your attention regarding your daughter's engagement. The attached documents show concerning patterns in the Williams family's investment history and your future son-in-law's previous relationships. This information is provided anonymously and with your family's best interests at heart. Attached were redacted court documents, financial discrepancies, and a timeline of Tyler's previous engagements. Nothing explicitly illegal, just enough to trigger a father's protective instincts and a businessman's due diligence. My next call was to Eliza Chin, not just my college classmate, but now one of the city's most formidable corporate attorneys. You're seriously asking me to be your date to a wedding where you're both the planner and the revenge architect? Eliza asked incredulously over lunch. I prefer justice facilitator, I corrected, sliding a folder across the table. Everything's in here. Financial fraud, identity misrepresentation, evidence of multiple similar schemes. I need someone who understands the legal implications when it all comes to light. Eliza leafed through the documents, her expression growing more serious with each page. This is comprehensive, but why not just expose them now? Because a private revelation gives them room to escape, regroup, and find new victims. I sipped my water, ice clinking against glass. A public one witnessed by their entire social and business circle ensures they can never do this again. She closed the folder with a decisive snap. What color should I wear to complement the devastation you're planning? Navy blue, I answered promptly. It conveys authority when you're serving cease and desist orders for dessert. The pieces aligned with clockwork precision. Marco confirmed the rehearsal dinner arrangements, with a separate entrance for my technical team, to set up the presentation equipment. Jessica's father had requested a private breakfast with her the morning before the wedding, a direct result of my anonymous tip. My office wall now featured a detailed timeline of the event, each moment orchestrated for maximum impact. The night before the wedding, I stood in my apartment, technically still mine and Tyler's, though he'd been working late for days, undoubtedly finalizing his exit strategy. Evidence boxes lined one wall. Wedding details covered my dining table. My engagement ring sat in its open box, the diamond catching lamplight and throwing shadows across documents detailing the Williams family's decades of fraud. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Save me a dance at the reception. He still didn't know I was the wedding planner. Jessica still didn't know about me. The Williams family thought they'd neutralized me by keeping me professionally involved but emotionally distant. Tomorrow everyone would know everything. I slipped my engagement ring back on, not out of sentiment, but as a visual reminder for the witnesses to what would unfold. Picking up my garment bag containing not a bridesmaid's dress but a precisely tailored black suit, I took one final look at the apartment that had housed both love and betrayal. Time for the real celebration to begin, I whispered to the empty room, closing the door on the life that had almost been mine. Dawn broke with a perfect June sky, the kind wedding photographers dream about. I arrived at Westfield Country Club 3 hours before the ceremony, my event coordinator badge prominently displayed as I directed the setup crew. No one questioned my authority as I moved between the reception hall, ceremony gazebo, and the private dining room reserved for the rehearsal dinner. The projector needs to be angled slightly left, I instructed the AV technician, a college friend who understood the importance of perfect visibility. Everyone needs to see the screen clearly, especially the tables near the back where the business associates will be seated. Got it, he nodded, making the adjustment. And the remote trigger? I patted my jacket pocket. I'll handle that personally. In the bridal suite, Jessica was surrounded by her attendants, her father conspicuously absent. Our breakfast meeting must have raised the concerns I'd intended. Megan, thank God, she called when I entered. Daddy's being impossible. He's asking all these questions about Tyler's investment firm and talking about postponing. Can you speak with him? He respects you as a professional. I'll see what I can do, I promised, noting the irony of being asked to smooth over the very doubts I'd planted. In the groom's suite, chaos reigned of a different sort. Tyler paced nervously while his father spoke in urgent whispers with 2 men I recognized from their firm. The flash drive's contents were clearly causing ripples. Is everything all right? I asked innocently, clipboard in hand. We're starting in 90 minutes. Tyler whirled to face me, confusion giving way to shock as recognition dawned. "Megan, why are you?" "Just doing my job," I replied smoothly. "Premier Events handles everything." I enjoyed watching the implications sink in as his face drained of color. "The Williams-Preston wedding is getting my personal touch, just as promised." Mr. Williams recovered first, stepping between us. "There's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding at all," I contradicted calmly. "I've understood everything perfectly for weeks now. Your son's multiple engagements, your family's financial arrangements, Jessica's trust fund, Tyler's emergency client meetings that were actually venue tours." I checked my watch. "Speaking of which, I need to finalize arrangements for the rehearsal dinner. The slideshow requires my personal attention." I turned to leave, savoring the panic erupting behind me. "Megan, wait." Tyler lunged for my arm, but I sidestepped gracefully. "The time for waiting is over, Tyler. I waited while you planned a wedding with another woman. I waited while you charged a honeymoon to my credit card. I waited while you lied about being with a sick client when you were actually shopping for her ring." My voice remained professionally detached. "Now it's your turn to wait for what comes next." The rehearsal dinner began precisely at 7 p.m. Marco had outdone himself, transforming his restaurant's private room into an elegant space worthy of the society pages. Crystal glasses caught the light from overhead chandeliers, reflecting prisms across white tablecloths. Jessica's father sat stiffly beside her, his financial advisors strategically placed at nearby tables. The Williams family entered as a unit, scanning the room with practiced smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Tyler looked physically ill when he spotted me conversing with Eliza near the bar. "Welcome, everyone," I announced once all 60 guests were seated. "Before dinner is served, the Williams family has prepared a special presentation celebrating the couple's journey." The lights dimmed. I pressed the remote in my pocket and the projector hummed to life. Initial scenes played exactly as expected. Childhood photos, family gatherings, college graduations. Proud smiles appeared throughout the room. Then came the subtle shift. Tyler's voice narrating his entrepreneurial journey played over court documents detailing his father's first bankruptcy. A clip of Mrs. Williams toasting family traditions dissolved into newspaper clippings about investor complaints. The timeline of Tyler's previous engagement appeared alongside identical romantic gestures performed with Jessica. Murmurs rippled through the guests. I watched Mr. Preston's expression harden as bank statements flashed briefly. Documents showing the shell companies the Williams family had established using information gained from his previous merger negotiations. "What is this?" Tyler stood abruptly, reaching for the projector cable, but it was too late. Adam's recording played crystal clear through the speakers. "Once we're married, her trust fund transfers automatically. Dad says we can clear at least $3 million before anyone notices the discrepancies." Stunned silence fell. Jessica turned to Tyler, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. "Is this true?" Before he could respond, Charles Preston rose to his full imposing height. "I've heard enough. As of this moment, I'm withdrawing all financial support for this wedding. Jessica, we're leaving." "Daddy, you can't." "It's over, Jessica." His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "My attorneys will be in touch, Mr. Williams. I suggest you retain competent counsel." The room erupted into chaos. Business associates frantically made calls. Investors demanded explanations, and relatives whispered urgently among themselves. Several people photographed the still-frozen image on screen, documented evidence of the Williams' most recent financial manipulation. Tyler fought through the crowd toward me, rage contorting his features. "You planned this entire thing," he hissed. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I've simply revealed the truth," I replied evenly. "Something you never valued." "I loved you," he insisted desperately. I smiled then, removing my engagement ring and placing it in his palm. "No, Tyler. You loved what you thought I could give you. There's a difference." Eliza stepped forward, handing him an envelope. "Cease and desist order, restraining order, and notification of civil action for financial fraud and identity theft. Consider yourself served." As we walked out, Jessica caught my arm. "You knew all along," she said, mascara streaking her cheeks. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? Would you have believed me?" I asked gently. "Some truths we have to see for ourselves." Her father led her away while police officers entered. Someone had evidently called them once the financial allegations became clear. 6 months later, I unlocked the door to my new office in the financial district. Lawrenceville Events read the elegant gold lettering on frosted glass. Inside, my assistant had already arranged fresh flowers and prepared coffee for our first client meeting. On the wall behind my desk hung 2 framed items side by side. The first, my business license. The second, a newspaper article with the headline, "Society Wedding Scandal Leads to Fraud Convictions." The accompanying photo showed the Williams family being escorted from court, faces shielded from cameras. My phone chimed with a text from Adam. "Just got into NYU with full scholarship. Thanks for the recommendation letter." I smiled, setting down my coffee to respond. Helping him had been one unexpected bright spot in the aftermath. The youngest Williams family member breaking the cycle. When my first clients arrived, a genuine couple planning their 10th anniversary celebration, I greeted them with hard-won wisdom and professional poise. "Tell me about your journey together," I invited them, opening a fresh portfolio. The real story is always worth celebrating.